if you already start disagreeing from the outset, you're going to have a problem later on. So the minute that you start saying, maybe we should do this or with that other person, you know, see, that's the problem with you. You know, you just want to tell me what to do. The minute you start that, you probably need to re-examine this. Is this the person? Do I want to hear this for the rest of my life? Is this someone that I should get married to? And you have to ask them, why does this bother you? Or what are your feelings about this? And if they can calm down long enough to talk about it, to say, well, my ex used to do this, or I grew up in a home where I saw that and what kind of behavior it led to, then you give the partner a chance to say, that's not where I was going with this. I was just saying that to keep us together. Oh, okay. I can do that. Oh, okay. That's where that is going. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of, oh, learn to set up guidelines. We're not going to yell at one another. Please don't yell at one another. The minute you start yelling at one another, you start having issues, because you start feeling badly that this person does not care about me, right? So don't yell at one another. Agree to disagree. Okay, I don't agree with it, but okay, we won't talk about it. And agree to, in the moment when I disagree with you, I'm not going to argue. We should not argue if we're both disagree about this. Walk away. I'm going to walk away. It doesn't mean I'm walking away from you. It means that the situation is such that I need to breathe. Don't talk about it when you go to bed. Wait. Don't yell at each other while you're in the car. Don't yell in front of the children, because guess what it does? What does it do? It dilutes the authority of the other parent in front of the children. You're literally teaching your children that one day the parents are going to divorce and they're going to take sides. And it is teaching the children how to walk through relationships of their own. Do you see what I'm saying? We often, as adults, we tend to look at ourselves, especially those of us who have been single. We think we're living our own lives. But you're teaching your children how to live. Right? You start dating, you're dating multiple partners. You're telling your children that it's okay to cheat. You're teaching them. You're telling your male children and your female children that this is normal. And we don't think like that. You're like, well, I'm doing what I want to do. No, you're not alone. The minute that you have children, you are now teaching someone else how to be. And you have to come to the place where you accept that. It's not okay to just walk away from the relationship just because you were having an affair, because now you have hurt those children, because you have destroyed their home, especially in homes where there was no abuse. You weren't arguing, you weren't even, one partner was not abusing the other. You were just existing and going along. But you watch so much TV and so much reality shows that if your life doesn't have this, some of us have this image in our minds of what our lives should be. Hello. And when it doesn't match up, we go create it because there's not enough drama. You've heard of people like that. Life can't just be this even keel. They have to have all this other stuff going on. Right? Oh Lord. Do you see what I'm saying? So we need to be more ardent about our pursuit of maintaining our family life, because it makes you healthier. I mean, how many of you work in healthcare? How many of you are seeing so many people of a certain as seniors coming in and they're single, not because a spouse died, but because they got divorced and never married, and for a while there they were living like King Kong. And then all of a sudden they get a diagnosis, and who shows up but a child or a sister or a mother? There's some guy I know who is very ill right now. I feel bad for him, but a few years ago he was living his best life being a player. And then he got really sick, and it was his mother who had to take him in. So now he's getting visits from all his ex-girlfriends, not one of them whom he had committed to, because he thought he was the King Kong. And a few years ago, he was the King Kong and the player. Like that. There are women who do the same thing. You won't settle down. And me, I'm going to the club, I'm going to hang out with my friends, and then you get sick and you don't have a partner. Come on. Come on, right? Food for thought. So here in Michigan, there is a law in the books that is called the loss of consortium. You remember back in the days when they used to call the queen, the king's mistress, his consortium or something, right? So what that covers, the loss of consortium, is sort of like a homewrecker law. What it covers is if your partner is injured or your partner dies, you can sue the other side, the other party, for loss of things like you lost affection, you lost sex, and you lost income. You lost income and you lost sex and so on. So it's called loss of consortium. It typically applies to cases where a partner, a spouse, was injured, and that injury prevents them from performing out parts of their marital relations as they used to. So people typically attach it to like a personal injury claim, while, especially in cases of physical injury or something like that, right? But it's a law that exists. And it's obscure because we never really thought about it like it can happen. But what if? So I asked the question. I said, what if somebody decides that they can go to court and they can say, well, I'm going to sue this person because I lost affection and I lost sex and I lost their ability to provide for me because of someone cheated, and your actions of cheating with my husband caused him to not provide these things with me. And I find that it can happen. Ouch. Food for thought. Makes you think. And we should think about these things. There comes a point where we have to have some level, some sort of accountability, where somebody has to say, where we have to feel like, just because I can doesn't mean that I should. Just because I can, yes, I'm a person all day and I have rights. We all have rights. But rights also come with responsibility. The privileges we enjoy come with responsibility. And the responsibility we have is that you can't just randomly hurt other people. I know of a situation where a man cheated on his wife, right? And it became a public display, right? Much to his chagrin. And he said the worst part about it was not just what happened, was his children. His children hated him for taking their mother through that public discourse. He said especially one of his children, his daughter, did not speak to him for a while. He had to work. It took him 4 years for her to work at it, for her to actually resume a relationship with him. Do you understand what I'm saying? And while he was having fun and cheating and da 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 da, and he was King Kong and he was the man and he was the king and he was this and that, it had never occurred to him that the unintended consequence of his action was how much it would. I know this is not a popular podcast. This is not going to be popular. This is not going to be something that people will want to talk about, because it makes all of us feel accountable to something, because it's making me feel accountable. Was it enough just to walk away? And I experienced tremendous physical violence. I had to ask myself, in years to come, what am I going to tell my daughter about why I left her father? I had to ask myself that question at the time. Am I going to be comfortable saying to her that I could not withstand the physical violence? And I eventually thought that it would start happening with you. Is she, whether or not she believed it, she's going to have to trust my opinion that I was making the best decision at the time. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't something as silly as, oh, well, mommy just felt like she needed to have an extra roll in the hay with someone. And so she just went down to, the Marriott and just met in room 429, met some guy. And, as a result of that, the marriage broke apart irretrievably. I think we need to, a man is a dentist or a doctor. He has people who work for him, and he starts having sex with the people who work for him. much to the detriment of his family life. He's a dentist, he's a doctor, he's a professor. He starts having sex with the people around him, much to the detriment of his family life. Recently, Hillary Clinton wrote a book called Gutsy and Gutsy Women. And she was talking about it. Somebody asked her, what's the gutsiest thing that she has ever done? Much to everyone's surprise, guess what she said? She said the choice to stay within her marriage. That was the gutsiest thing she had ever done. Remember Hillary Clinton? They actually impeached her husband because he had oral sex with a member of his staff in the Oval Office. It puts things into perspective about what's going on right now. It makes you really shudder at the thought that you were going to impeach a man because somebody was having sex with him while he was president. And here comes this other stuff coming on down the pike some 20 odd years later. Do you see what I'm saying? And she said the gutsiest thing she did was after that became a revelation on the whole country, the whole world knew about it, she chose to stay married. And she described that as the gutsiest thing she had ever done. And she said it when beside her daughter, at the time when that was happening, it was the daughter who was trying to keep the parents together because her life was now being impacted if her parents had gone apart. And the same daughter is now present hearing the mother disclose that the gutsiest thing she had ever done was to stay within her marriage. Do you see what I'm saying? So here we go. We're having all these kinds of relationships, and we're not thinking of the unintended consequences. We're not thinking of the consequences that happen as a result of our actions within our relationships. We're so caught up and so focused on it's me, myself, and I. We're so focused on the 80-20 rule. 80% of my needs are being satisfied. But you know, that girl over there, that guy over there does it like that, and it just makes me zing. And so you focus on the 20% and destroy the 80%. You have to separate your pension, you have to share your wealth. All of a sudden, you were worth $1 million together. Now, all of a sudden, you're worth $500,000. Let's just put it down in real time. You used to be worth $50,000 collectively. Now it's less than $25,000. Think about that. Right? Think about that. I want you to think about it. And I want you to think about it within the context of how does this work? Think about it. We all spend so much time just being focused on ourselves and our own individual needs. Marriage was never designed to be easy. First of all, you're not marrying your brother or your sister. So you're not marrying someone you grew up with. You're marrying someone whom you probably never met, never had anything to do with while you were growing up. So you are learning. The process is learning to live with that person, right? You meet someone, the hormones are right, the chemistry is right, and the more you get to know the person, the more you realize that there is something deep here, and you're going on the strength of that. I'm not talking about calculated instances where people meet people and say, oh, I'm going to marry that guy, and I know it's not going to last, but at least I'll get child support for the rest of time, and I'll get alimony for 10 years, and I'll get child support for the next 18 years. I'm not talking about those people. Those people are frivolous, and you need to be aware of them. Some of you guys I heard a story recently of a guy who he knew what he was getting into. He got connected with a girl who is a dancer. So what did you think was going to happen? She got pregnant. So now you're on the hook for child support, and now you're suddenly acting like, oh my God, you didn't expect this. You knew what you were getting into. You walked right into that one. Why are you so shocked that this is the outcome? Do you see what I'm saying? So you let your hormones and sometimes my ex used to say it like this. He said, sometimes we would let our egos write checks our bodies cannot cash. Isn't that the truth? You let your ego write a check your body can't cash. Because you're sitting there, oh, I'm the man, I can do whatever I want to do, until they hit you for that 18-year child support. Some of you ladies, oh, I just thought that you listen to your girlfriends. Your girlfriends are telling you, girl, he doesn't come home. You can do whatever you want to do, forgetting that you're married. Until he hits you with a divorce, and suddenly you're going to lose your lifestyle. And the same friends, where are they? Can they help you? Are they able to help you? Some of you women listen to your friends, and your friends have proven destructive to your relationships. Who are you listening to? Right? I think we need to come back to ourselves, right? And perhaps if somebody is the direct cause of why your relationship broke, in my opinion, they shouldn't get away with it. I think you should go after them. You should find a way to sue them for loss of consortium here in Michigan. Well, they robbed you of having sex, and robbed you of affection and the provision. Yeah, as a result of their cheating, especially if you have proof of it that it was taking place. Heck yeah, go to court and say, yeah, take out a civil case against them. Bring it up in the divorce and take out a civil case against them and see what would happen. People need to stop thinking it's my way or the highway. We have become so, we've become such a society where we literally just think each of us is an end unto ourselves. Where are we going as a society if we're not thinking as a group? We're not thinking of what's good for all. It's me, myself, and I. It's just like Elon Musk. I mean, he thinks that life should exist on another planet, and this planet should be done after all you billionaires have done something to destroy the planet. Now suddenly you want to go live on another planet? That's delusional thinking. I used to like the guy when he came up with this idea of using electric cars, but when I read the other stuff about him, that he likes all this stuff about living on another planet, that's delusional. Totally delusional. Where's your commitment to humanity? Where's your philanthropy? Where's what you think about? You see what I'm saying? And when I look at it, I'm like, how long have you been married? So I'll leave him alone. But think about people who you can't even, how sometimes I look at some of you guys and I'm like, how are you even with someone whom they can't even make a commitment to wanting to have breakfast. I'm just not that kind of person. I just don't make commitments. Okay, then you shouldn't be with that person. A couple of days ago, we were driving down the street and we were in a neighborhood, and I saw an altercation happening, and you could just tell that was. I hope it didn't make crime news, but there was the baby mama with the kids in the car. Apparently, she was supposed to meet the baby daddy so he could buy gas to put in the car as part of his contribution. But the new girlfriend does not want him to have any interaction with the baby mama because that's a threat to her stability. So she's egging the baby daddy on and at the same time arguing with the baby mama, getting boisterous and wanting to be physical. I drove off because I'm like, I don't want to see the end of that, right? Because that is just part, and the man is there and he's getting angry and so on. And I'm like, no, you really are angry with yourself for looking at what you have caused to happen because you couldn't control yourself. So you have a baby mama with young, small children, but now you also have another girl who is probably going to say, well, the way to keep that controlled is to go become another baby mama. And I look at him and I'm like, you are not a victim. You put yourself solely in that position. See, if you had stayed together with the one from the beginning, you wouldn't have baby mama issues. And that is the truth of it. Home wrecker, right? Is it time to hold them accountable? You bet it is. I think it's time, don't you? I think it's time. I think it's time to start holding people accountable for wrecking our emotional lives and for wrecking our marriages. It's time to start activating that. It's time to start making people know that you can't just hurt and destroy someone's marriage and then walk off with it and then have the nerve to turn around and marry my ex no, baby. It's time to start holding people accountable. I think it's time we start doing that, right? Has this happened to me? No, they haven't. But I feel for those. I've heard too many of these stories, seen too many hurts, seen too many women whose lives have been impacted, and too many men as well, because deep down, that man is carrying some guilt. You know it, and I know it. He's carrying some guilt for bearing the brunt of what happened. Because when he and the first wife had gotten together, what was that? That was his commitment to her. If you stick with me, I'm going to give you the world. And then you find out later that the world included a whole world of other other women. And then he leaves you for the younger model. And she's making sure that she lets you know she's the younger model. I think it's time to start holding these people accountable. And women, you are not powerless. And for men too, whom this has happened to, you're not powerless. It's time as a come together as a group and collectively hold homewreckers accountable. Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Loss of consortium. Oh yes, I am for it. Why? Because it's time to hold people accountable. So people know that you can't just walk into someone's life and just wreck their lives and then walk away. It's one thing to take personal responsibility for how happy I feel or my self esteem. That's a whole separate issue, but you wrecked my life. You wrecked my home. Yes, you should pay. And if there's nothing else that you shouldn't do, I should hold you accountable and I should make you pay for that. Right? I think so. Am I going to be popular saying this? No, but did I seek to be popular? No. I'm not trying to be popular. I am just saying that there is a way that's at some point we got to come back to center. And we haven't found our way back to center yet, right? So make sure you tune in for this and other shows. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Make sure you continue to support us. If you have not subscribed to our podcast yet, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Make sure that you continue to join us and support and subscribe to our station. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Have a great day.